Hey, ambitious professionals, it's Linda Rayner of lindarayner.com, guiding you to a career and life you'll truly enjoy. And today is a very special video, another one of my favorite types of videos where I get to talk to one of my amazing students. His name is John from Malaysia, and he's going to tell you and tell me about his success in being able to get his latest job offer through using my program. So I am so excited. I want to hear everything about what's going on with John. So John, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Hi, Linda. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so John, just to start, why don't you share with us a little bit about your background? Because I know that you are in Malaysia, you're living in Malaysia. So can you just tell the audience a little bit about your history and your experience?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Linda, for the question. I would say that I was born and raised in Malaysia, in the east side of Malaysia, Sarawak. It's a border tropical island known as Borneo. And I was majoring in chemical engineering, and I did another research-based chemistry for another year in the United Kingdom. Oh, by the way, I was majoring in chemical engineering in South Korea at the time. And I decided to take a gap year after my graduation. I decided to do my own stuff, for example, voluntary stuff, to try to help some of the underrepresented students with their studies and such. After months of being unemployed, right, and then I decided to try to apply for some of the roles that I'm interested in. But at that time, I wasn't confident yet with my interview skills and also preparation. So that at that time, I told myself that, which program should I apply for it? And that's when I stumbled upon Top Notch Interview Program on YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so that's how you got to this. So
Yeah.
you born and raised in Malaysia, you studied chemical engineering. It sounds like you've done some international study, UK, South Korea, and then you started
Yeah.
your own volunteer organization after graduating, and then you started applying for jobs, and that's when you realized that you needed interview support.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. And another question I just want to ask you is, when it comes to interviewing, you studied so much, in university, you studied chemical engineering. Did you ever really learn how to interview? I think I know the answer to that, but before you came across Top Notch Interview, did you ever really learn how to interview for jobs?
To be honest, no. Yeah. Yeah, because throughout my entire studying period, right, even though we had like some of the career fair or like some of the career coaches, right, especially at the universities, but they only offer some of the very general tips on how to, for example, how to stay calm during the interviews, how to stay confident, but they didn't really try to teach us how to convey our message to the interviewers or even hiring managers. For example, how we could try to structure our answer in a clear and concise way. For example, like we have like introduction, body, and conclusion, this kind of stuff. And I didn't get to learn all this kind of stuff throughout my undergrad and also postgraduate studies.
That's right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, exactly what you're describing is something that I hear time and time again because the truth is, you never really learn how to interview from school. Yes, they might have given you some tips, like you just said, how to
Yeah.
relax, how to be calm, how to not be nervous. But if you don't know how to answer the questions, if you don't know the strategy behind the answers of the questions that they're asking you, then it's going to be difficult to stay calm anyways, right? Even if you try to breathe, if you don't know what to say, you're still not going to do well in the interview. What made you decide or take the plunge, take the leap, whatever you want to call it, into wanting to learn more? Like basically, you said that you saw a lot of videos on the same type of question, the same type of answer, but people were giving you different answers. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, one of the things that I like about like the Top Notch Interview Program is about the tips and also some of the bonus tips that it gave right throughout the entire program. And then there's this one specific main point I would like to mention here. It's more about like the ending of the interview itself. So for every question, right, there's this one point I really like about is that we have to show that the interview really want that job. Not only that, we have the skills that we can offer the company. For example, I remember there's this one statement, it talks about, I understand that this role requires some of the communication or some of the additional skills that you're looking for. And I'm confident that I'll be able to contribute to this role. I really like this sentence because it gives me a sense that a very good ending to every question. And then it's sort of like, that interviewers might think that I feel that John's confident enough to do the job if we offer him the position. That's what I kind of like the vibes that I feel throughout the entire interview. Yeah.
That's so good. And yes, that
Yeah.
is exactly what I teach in the
Yeah.
program. And so, can you tell me, John, how long, like when did you start searching for a job? Like what month was it? Was it in 2020? Like what month was it?
Thanks for the question, Linda. So I actually graduated in early 2020, and I only started applying for jobs. I would say 5 jobs, starting in the mid of 2020, which was May, I would say. And I only managed to get 4 interviews in the end, and I failed the first 3 interviews. But I did manage to get an offer through the top-notch interview for my last interview, which was kind of like was associated with my background experiences.
So then when you were learning the course and you were applying the results, tell us a little bit about what happened. Like, so you started applying for jobs again, and then you would go on these interviews. When you got this job offer, which we haven't even talked about yet, but were there specific comments from the hiring manager that talked about how you interviewed? Did you ever get direct feedback about that by any chance?
Oh no, they didn't tell me any direct feedback about that. Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it's more like,
Yeah.
okay, you seem like you're a fit for us.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm curious, did you ever notice a difference in the way that they reacted to you and the way that you engaged with them during the interviews for the ones where you prepared using Top Notch Interview versus the interviews that you did not prepare using Top Notch Interview? What was the difference in the facial reactions, the way that they would talk to you in the interviews? Did you feel that there was a difference?
Yes, I think the contrast was for the interviews that I wasn't prepared for. They kind of like just look at the laptop. I mean, most of the time, it's not like they are taking notes, but most of the time they're looking at the laptop. It's like I could feel that they wish the time could pass faster. Yeah, this is one
Right.
of the awkward environment that I've been through. Yeah, but for the one that I prepared using the top-notch interviews, right? I kept on seeing that they kept jotting down the notes, not only on the laptop, but sometimes I can hear like the writing sound. Yeah, because they
Oh,
didn't mute the entire interview at the time, so I could hear like even like this the sound that I could hear at the time. Yeah, and
wow.
also that they kind of like they kept asking lots of follow-up questions, I would say, for the one that I prepared using the top-notch interviews, because sometimes they would like to know more about it. They kind of like, hey John, can you tell me more about this or that? Yeah,
Okay, so that's good.
yeah,
So for anyone who's watching, that's how you know if you have a good interview happening at that moment in time or not, is whether it seems like they are really engaged, really paying attention to what you're saying, asking follow-up questions, versus, like you said before, they were just kind of,
yeah,
keeping their head down and just hoping to get this over with, right?
yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so that's good to know. So I'm curious, like let's go back a little bit. Let's talk about when you were looking for a job and you were applying and you were going on interviews and you didn't prepare ahead of time, like you said. How did you feel walking out of those interviews? I mean, it's not really walking because you're doing
Mm.
Zoom most of the time, but when you turned off your laptop and you were done the interview, how did you feel when you hadn't prepared for that interview?
Definitely sad when I first closed my laptop at the time, and I wish I could have prepared more. I would say it's one of my regrets at the time. Yeah. And another thing would be I felt hopeless at some point because even though I didn't apply for many jobs, right? I think I only applied for 6 jobs, and then I got 4 interviews, but three
Wow.
of the interviews weren't good, I would say. But only the last one I managed to secure an offer from after using the top-notch interview program. But
Okay.
another thing I would like to emphasize that definitely like the disparagement and also you feel entire world is against you, I would say. Yeah, I
Mhm.
say, how come I managed to pass the screening stage, but I didn't manage to get an offer at the end? Yeah, that's one of the disappointment I could feel at the end of the interview. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what a lot of people feel, like they're getting to the interviews, they're passing the initial stages, but then they never end up getting the job offer
Yeah.
and they wonder why? Why, what did I do wrong? So I'm curious now, like, why don't you tell the audience, what do you think was the key determining factor that resulted in you being able to get the job offer in the end for this job that you're in now, which we'll talk about, versus what was stopping you before from being able to get job offers, basically?
That's a very interesting one. So I would say that based on my own experiences, the first key element I would say is confidence, definitely, because without confidence, you definitely can't kind of like show off the skills and knowledge in front of the interviewers. Whenever they ask the questions, you feel like you stumble or you just feel nervous. And secondly, it's definitely about communication style. And I think this is very important as well, especially in terms of sharing our stories in a clear and concise way, because sometimes like we tend to mumble like and then says that, oh, we have lots of things going on in our brain. It's like, okay, we go from one point to another point, everything become like it's not structured. So eventually interviewer will be like, okay, I don't want to listen to John anymore, the kind of feeling. Yeah, because everything is not focused. And the third point I would say is definitely about being prepared for the interviews, even though you feel like it's an informal way to try to interview you. That's what I felt for my first interview. But definitely be prepared for the interview, because you want to make sure that you want to ace every question, but not to be over prepared. You have to make sure that the interview goes very smooth. Like it's not going to make it very awkward. I would say it's make it in a smooth style. Yeah.
Yes, yes, you're saying all the right things. And, I think this is so important for people to hear is that confidence is key, but and of course being prepared is key, which is what Top Notch Interview
Yeah.
helps you to do. So why don't we talk about confidence a little bit? What do you think made you have more confidence in this last interview that you got the job offer for? I know you took Top Notch Interview, obviously, but what about it gave you confidence?
I would say it's about the tips that it offers by the program itself, and also how to handle some of the tricky questions and some of the creative questions offered by the top-notch interview program. Right? I remember I was asked one of the weird question or creative questions, but it was my second interview. But at that time, I haven't enrolled in the top-notch interview program yet, and then I didn't answer the question well. But after attending the top-notch interview program, I would say, maybe I should have used this method to answer the questions. Yeah, this is one of the
Yes,
things.
exactly. I call
Yeah,
those crazy questions like, how many elephants can you fit inside a room? Or, how many
yeah,
crayons can you fit inside a bus? Like just weird, strange questions that you would never expect. But, there is a specific way to answer those questions, and that's what we teach in top-notch interviews. So that's great that you learned that and you were able to apply it. So tell us a little bit about this process with this job that you interviewed for and how you successfully were able to get that job offer.
Thanks for the questions. I would say that I applied to some of the roles that weren't associated with my degree or my background itself. For example, I applied to some of the companies that offered consulting positions or even finance positions. But I didn't manage to get some of the offers from these companies, especially for these roles. It was because mainly due to my interview performances. But I would say that definitely in terms of tailoring my experiences and background to the final offer that I got, it was more to like chemical engineer position. It was best suited to my own background and also experiences. And I managed to try to prepare my answers specifically just for that role. Throughout the entire interview, I could sense that they kind of like nod their heads like, yes, that's right. That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, that's what I felt throughout the interview. But before that, I did manage to apply to one of the firms that offered a management training program. It was more about computer science, kind of like a job role, and it's more about coding stuff. But I didn't have any coding background at the time. But I did manage to convince that the interviewers that I'll be able to perform in that role, given that my transferable soft skills, especially communication, leadership, and all this kind of stuff. But in the end, they wanted me to try to join their company. But after I explained to them that because of my background, I would be more best suited for another role. So in order to save time for both sides, right? So I told them that I decided not to, to proceed with the entire process itself. But I really thank them for the opportunity. Yeah. So this is why I didn't manage to get an offer from them.
Do you think that if you didn't enroll in Top Notch Interview that you would have been able to get the job offer that you have now?
Thanks for the question, Linda. So to be honest, I hesitated quite for a bit before decided to try to enroll in the program itself because due to financial burdens. But after months of being beaten down by the interviews and didn't manage to get the offers, right? And then I told myself that maybe I should give it a try. But in the end, it doesn't disappoint me because it offers lots of tips and also in a structured way for me to follow through, even though I was a beginner, especially in terms of interview preparation. So I think it's definitely worth the time and also the investment in the long run, I would say. Yeah.
Okay, so that means you would say that for sure, if you did not take Top Notch Interview, you likely wouldn't have gotten the job offer that you have now. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Great. So I'm so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that Top Notch Interview helped you so much. And this is the thing is Top Notch Interview, I feel, is something that you learn, and it's like learning how to drive. Once you learn the skills on how to interview properly, you're always going to know how to interview properly. It's just like when you learn how to drive, once you learn how to drive, you always remember how to drive. You know what I mean? So it's a lifelong skill that's going to take you forward in your career. So what would you say to people who are currently thinking about enrolling in one of my programs, such as Top Notch Interview, but they're hesitant as well? Like they're worried about, let's say, the investment that it costs and things like that. What would you tell them? What would be your advice for them?
I would say just go for it. Yeah. Yeah, go for it. Because especially when you feel like you have been unemployed for so long already, especially for months or even years, and then you decided to try to brush out your interview skills and how to persuade or convince the interviews to offer you the job itself. And I think this is very important, especially in terms of switching to roles that are radically different from your background or even degrees, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it teaches you how to convey a message in the very convincing way, especially to hiring managers. Yeah.
Right, right. I'm so glad to hear this, and I am so proud of you that you were able to just with, you used the course, and with the first job that you had after the course, you were able to get the job offer right away. So
Yeah.
I almost feel like if you kept applying for jobs, you probably could have gotten multiple job offers that you could have picked from. I mean, not to say that you have to go keep looking for jobs. You already got a
Yeah.
job offer, so you're good. So you're good. But yes, congratulations on that. And so tell me about the new job. When do you start the new job?
Oh, so for this job, actually, I got the job offer, right? I think last year, December 2020. Yeah, but then,
Okay.
yeah, I kind of negotiated with them to say, okay, would it be fine if I take another few more months so that I could try to finish up my volunteering stuff? And then they agreed to say yes, because this one of the things that I could feel that the hiring managers decided to keep me for that long period. It means that they were impressed with my performances, I would say. Yeah, because if it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have kept me for so long, right? Until like May. Because by the way, I'll be starting my first job in May 2021. Yeah.
Wow. So they're willing
Yeah.
to wait a whole 5 months
Yeah.
after giving you the job offer because of
Yeah.
your volunteer. That's
Yeah.
amazing. What is your volunteer experience? What do you do?
Basically, I decided to take a gap year to try to found my own organization known as JN Tutoring. So I actually have had a vision of contributing back to society upon graduation, because I was being sponsored by the government, right, to pursue my studies, both undergraduate and postgraduate. And at that time, after my graduation, I decided to devote some time to try to help students, especially from underprivileged backgrounds, to help them with their study, and
Wow.
also to try to help them to try to structure the way, the career pathway, and if they have any questions that I could try to help them before starting my first job. Yeah.
That is amazing. Wow. So no wonder they want to hire you. You're like an angel. That's like helping underprivileged students.
Yeah.
That is awesome work. Well, I mean, all I have to say is, congratulations. Good for you, John. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. You're going to be starting your first job in May. So, I mean, what advice or what other tips, inspiration, guidance, words of wisdom can you give our audience today who are individuals that are currently looking for a job? Maybe they're feeling lacking confidence. They're worried about if they're going to get a job offer, especially during this pandemic. What would you say to them right now to inspire them?
So first thing is that don't give up easily, even though you are being unemployed for so many months or years, right? and just believe in yourself, especially believe that through your perseverance and also faith in yourself, you definitely will get the job that you've been wishing for in the end.
Yes, and that is, I agree with that wholeheartedly. So if you're listening out there, make sure that you stay positive, stay optimistic, and if you wish to do so, definitely enroll in Top Notch Interview. So thank you again, John, for joining us and sharing your story, and congratulations again.
All right. Thank you, Linda.
All right. Now, if you are looking for support, for guidance, for help in interviews, and you want to be able to get the job offer that you deserve, be sure to check out my free interview strategy workshop, which is located in the link in the description box down below. You can also check out my free resume mastery workshop, which is also in the link down below. And from there, you'll learn about my top-notch interview and top-notch resume programs, which it's up to you to enroll in. But if you feel the need to do so, then I highly recommend it, because you can have the same success that John and many others before you have had. So if you like this video, then please be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.